Welcome back to Mozology, the only religion that makes time for you rather than you making time for it. Now, the Apple Watch has been out since 2015 with the Series 0 or first generation, whatever you want to call it. I'm still rocking that model at the moment. I'm still using it every single day. I haven't upgraded yet, even though we're on to Series 7 this year. The original Apple Watch had 8GB of storage, 2GB for music, and an amazing 75MB for photos. I know, scary kind of storage there. The last update that came out for the Apple Watch Series 0 was actually in July 2018, which was OS 4.3.2. So, a little bit behind the times when it comes to the software side of things. The Apple Watch Series 0 has actually had the shortest lifespan of support from any of the Apple Watches so far, coming in at just 3 years and 4 months between first release and the end of it getting updates. So what's it like using the Apple Watch Series 0 6 years on in 2021? So one of the main things is for the Apple Watch Series 0 is it still does a lot of the functions that I've come to expect from an Apple Watch. I can still make and receive text messages. I can still get notifications off of most of the apps that I have on my phone. So if, say for example, motion's detected in the office, I still get a notification on here to let me know that that's happened. I can still control HomeKit, so if I haven't got my phone on me or not near the HomePod at the time, I can still switch a light on or anything like that using the Apple Watch Series 0. The main thing I actually use my Apple Watch for is for getting notifications as to what my schedule is for the day. When I'm in the office working, doing my day job, then I do have a schedule to adhere to, so it's nice to be able to just glance at my watch and know exactly what is coming up, when I've got a break, when I've got my lunch coming up, and if there's any meetings I need to attend to. I think the main draw for anyone who doesn't have an Apple Watch at the moment is thinking about getting one but doesn't want to spend the money to get one of the newer versions is the cost. You can pick up the Apple Watch Series 0 between £50 to £90 on eBay or other second-hand retailers wherever you are. And the one thing that I've found I've been using a lot over the course of the last 12 months especially is Apple Pay. You can still use that on the Apple Watch even if it's outdated. So say for example you're going to the shops and you want to purchase something, it makes a lot of sense to use the Apple Watch for that payment rather than getting your phone out of your pocket, because if you're trying to avoid touching things, you don't really want to be getting your phone out of your pocket, handling that, and then obviously defeats the whole purpose of trying not to touch things in store. Whereas this, hold it against it, tap it and go. Now obviously having a 6-year-old piece of equipment, there are always going to be cons with that. The major one I've been seeing is battery life. Battery life in this is not great. I find myself charging it at least once a day. Sometimes it can get down to 10% by maybe about 5 o'clock, even without really much use, aside from glancing at it every so often. So the battery life isn't great, which obviously you do see on some of the newer models as they've kind of improved things over time. Another thing kind of coupled with that is it's slowing down. Sometimes it can take a bit of time for it to switch between apps or to load up, say for example my HomeKit side of things, just simply because it's old. It's very old. You also do miss a few of the newer features, so things like walkie-talkie that got introduced. A lot of the third-party apps are slowly stopping support for the older watches because you need Watch OS version whatever to run them. And there are a few other issues, like you can't use the Raise to Speak, no notifications are grouped, which is a pain when you've got a few coming through because you have to scroll through each one individually. Obviously you don't get things like the newer watch faces that you get on the newer models there, and of course you're losing a few functions like the ECG, blood, noise and sleep tracking that you get on the newer watches, as well as the update that came out recently for Face ID unlocking using the watch, which you can only do on one of the newer models. So obviously there are pros and cons to each version of the Apple Watch, whether you go for an older one like this or whether you go for a newer one like the 6 or the SE, which is very inexpensive. But I think the question here is, should you go for the Watch Series 0 in 2021? Well, the answer is no. Or rather, you probably won't find one in good working order to be able to pick one up. As I've mentioned, the battery on my watch is not the greatest. I'll get through the majority of the day without having to charge it, but if I want to do anything like, say for example, listen to music through the watch, using Apple Music or anything like that, it's going to be gone pretty quickly. But if you are just going to be using the Apple Watch to check notifications without getting your phone out your pocket or your bag, it is a good way to go. If you can find one that's in good working order and one that isn't in desperate need of repair, then yeah, definitely pick one up. It's a good way to at least dip your toe into the world of having a smartwatch if you're not fully committed. As mentioned, you still have the ability to use the Apple Wallet, you can still control your music and your phone. Most importantly, you can still tell the time with it. So if you can, make do with the smaller size screen that obviously isn't as big as the newer ones. If you can put up with obviously the lack of new features like the ECG side of things, which I can't see myself using to be honest, then it does make a really good companion for your iPhone, and that is the reason I've hung onto mine for as long as I have. But of course, it doesn't just stop at the watch itself. There are accessories you can get for it. Obviously the chargers, you can still buy those from Apple, so if you do need a replacement, I'm definitely thinking about upgrading mine to a USB-C one. They are still pretty easy to come by. I mean, when you think of accessories for the Apple Watch, the one that basically everyone needs is the strap. You can still buy straps. I've got the braided solo loop on mine, which it's a knockoff. It's not the original one from Apple, but at the end of the day, who cares? It's an older watch. I'm not going to splurge on it. However, if you do really want to get the most out of an Apple Watch, I probably would recommend opting for something a bit newer that's going to get continued support for a bit longer. At this stage, you are probably better off going for the Apple Watch 4 or above, just simply because based on previous support timeframes for older models, so the 0 through to the Series 2, you're probably looking at the Series 3 being one of the ones that gets knocked up in terms of support this year. Obviously Apple may do something different with it, give it a bit of an extended shelf life, but based on previous models I'd say that's probably going to be the case. Especially now with the SE filling in the gap for the cheaper alternative to the flagship release. I'd say that's probably going to be your best bet, because that is a brand new Apple Watch and is going to be supported for at least a couple more years before something else comes out. But what do you guys think? Are you still holding on to one of the older models for the Apple Watch, or have you got an Apple Watch at all? Let me know in the comments down below which one you'd go for if you don't have one, or if you are looking to upgrade at the moment. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, bye.